Hey guys, Joe from the Crazy New York Driver Show. Welcome to Junkyard Picking with Crazy New York Driver. Today is Thursday, November 28th, 2013, and I decided to do something a little different today since I have a little extra time. A lot of people have always asked me to make a video showing how I get my merchandise, how I go about getting used cars, and how you too could maybe someday get a good classic car and repair it and bring it back to original condition. So today I'm going to show you a backstage view of junkyards in the South Bronx. I'm going to take you where civilians cannot go. As you probably know, anybody can walk into a junkyard and stand at the parts counter and pay full-blown retail. However, I have all access pass to any junkyard and I can go anywhere I want. It is very hard to get into a junkyard like I am and become the wholesale person for a particular part. Let me explain how it's done. Number one, there are two type junkyards. One is the kind that specializes with scrap metal only. Number two is the kind that specializes with used parts. Both are very, very lucrative. You can't just walk in off the street and say, listen, I want to buy every single wheel you have. I want to be your guy. It doesn't work that way. You have to be referred. Somebody actually has to speak for you and put their reputation on the line for you, okay? Because if you do go to a junkyard and you establish yourself and you screw up, they won't come after you, they'll come after the person that vouched for you. So for example, let's say you are my friend and you want to buy, let's just say, 1,000 bucket seats. I'm using bucket seats as an example because you're going to see them later on in the video. I want to talk about them. So you say you're going to buy 1,000 bucket seats and you tell the guy you're coming Friday with a check. If Friday comes along and you're not there with that check, they're not coming after you. They're coming after me. So I would only recommend somebody who I'm really, really sure of. Somebody I know who is a stand-up guy and who's not going to dick me over. Okay? Now let's talk about the parts first and then we'll talk about the cars. In the last 10 years or so, it's become very, very common for wholesale buyers to buy parts and export them overseas, especially to your South American countries. Some of the more desirable parts are taillights, side marker lights, and bucket seats. Those things are not available in South America. And there are plenty of U.S. cars, and foreign cars too, in South America, and the demand is great. They're bringing over book value. So there's a lot of guys like me who would go to these junkyards and buy a specific part. Everybody has a specific part that they're really into. Now you know on my eBay Motors account, you've seen me selling all the hubcaps, okay? That is what I'm known for. But there are guys here, and I'm going to show you some of their piles later on, that go for bucket seats, taillights, aluminum alloy wheels. I mean, everybody's got their own niche. And if you look at these pictures, you'll see that they were filmed over several different days. Some days was somewhat sunny like this one, some days was cloudy and rainy. There are several different junkyards represented as well. I basically make the run of all of them. For those of you few people who actually Mac my eBay account, and I'm sure none of you would even bother to check it, but I haven't been buying anything at all on eBay in eBay Motors because I'm just too tied up here with these projects. I estimate this to go on for another 2 to 3 months. This is very tiring, back-breaking work. Okay? Here's how it goes. As you can see, they're stacking cars there in piles. The more desirable cars will have their taillights removed and set aside for the taillight guy. There's a pile of taillights, which I think I'm going to show you in a later slide. The tires are one of the few things that these junkyards will actually sell to walk-in customers because there is a big demand for used tires. As you know, a lot of junkyards are in industrial areas, in poorer areas, and people are looking for a break on used tires. Here, a pair of good used tires will go anywhere from $50 to, let's say, $75. The big front end loader you're looking at there is used to pick up cars and transport them from place to place in the yard. Some of these yards are actually acres big. Now, the EPA over the last few years has become very strict with junkyards because they don't like cars that are leaking oil or leaking gas into the ground because it contaminates the water supply. So they are forcing all the junkyards to upgrade their systems, their recovery systems, to catch all the fluids, which means, number one, that's a big expense for the junkyard, and for those smaller junkyards that can handle it, they're going out of business. They're just selling out, and they're either going to clean up the land, the EPA will clean it up, or a bigger junkyard will come and buy them out. The biggest junkyard in the United States of America is called LKQ.com. I'm sure some of you have bought from them in the past. LKQ.com is the old Hunts Point Auto Wrecking junkyard, for one, and many others. They are known for having a very good selection of parts. However, their parts are not cheap, okay? I bought an air conditioning compressor there a while back for my caddy, and they charged me $100 for it. This is years ago. $100, man, and they brought it out to me. They brought it out to my store. I put it on, and I mean, it wasn't even the best compressor. It was this raggedy looking thing. But anyway, the point is, you can buy parts online if you're a civilian. There you see piles of bucket seats. The deal with this is there's a guy that buys them by the truckload and he exports them to South America. Apparently there's a big demand for those plush bucket seats in South America. The particular buyer here takes every single seat bar none, as long as they're not ripped to shreds. See, there's another view of the same seats. Now, you'll see a lot of places you have these containers, these truck bodies, these roll-off bodies, and in each container is a different part. I myself have been working on the hubcaps, as you know, and I'll show you them in an upcoming frame. Basically, it involves me actually climbing into the container and rooting through everything. It's a real time-consuming process and back-breaking process because, number one, I got to pick out the pieces that I want. Anything that's damaged will go in the scrap metal pile and they will sell it for scrap metal. Scrap metal dealers are very choosy because often there are 3 or 4 different metals put together. And if you give them, like, let's say a hubcap that's bent up or broken, they want all the metals taken apart and separated. For instance, you might have die-cast, stainless, and tin all in one hubcap. You have to, by hand, take these things apart. If you don't want to do that, then they pay you a flat rate of tin, which is like 7 cents a pound, which is terrible, compared to stainless steel, which could go anywhere right now about 55 cents a pound. Brass is the top. Brass goes about $1 a pound, but I've seen it higher than that. I've seen it at $1.40. So it's very important to clean your scrap metals. What you're looking at there are pickup truck bodies loaded with center emblems for your aluminum alloy and rally wheels. Right now they're in the truck body, but soon they'll be in my place because those are mine too. I have the exclusive contract to every single cap, bar none. I just go in, I take what I want, and the rest go in the scrap. As far as payment, when you're paying for something wholesale, whether it's a hubcap, a taillight, or those bucket seats we looked at earlier, there are 2 different ways. If you're dealing with a junkyard that specializes in scrap, that's good, because all you have to do is pay over scrap value. If you're dealing with a guy who likes to do a lot of retail work, well then you're going to pay a little more than you're used to, because he sells a lot of retail. But for the most part, these junkyards love guys like me and guys like the bucket seat guy because we come in, we're regular, we're there 2-3 times a week, we pay right up, and we don't cause any problems. We're not demanding. We don't say to the guy, oh, could you help me do this or could you help me look for that? We're self-sufficient. We know cars. We know parts. We have a good reputation, and we've been doing it for a long time. So basically, this is how I get my hubcaps. Now, let's talk about cars. See the car on the right there, the old Chrysler? I want to show you that particular car because it's very interesting. When you're buying an old car, there's one cardinal rule. Make sure you get the title. That's why this Chrysler is still sitting there. There's a problem in getting the title. No title means no purchase. If the guy says to you, I'll have the title Friday, then you say to him, well, you'll have your check Friday. Do not buy any car with a salvage title unless you plan on using the car for parts only. Now this Chrysler here is a very interesting situation. The original owner is still alive, believe it or not, and claims to have the title. Now I haven't seen the title. The owner of the junkyard is still waiting on it, so this car has been sitting here for about 7 months, okay? A bunch of people have actually bidded on this car. That's the interior, and it doesn't really look half bad, okay? Keep in mind, if you do buy one of these cars and it does have a clean title, more than likely it's not going to run. Getting the car back into running shape is half the fun. Then of course there's the body parts. Many of these cars have rusted fenders, dented fenders, broken glass, and it's basically a labor of love. You have to decide whether, number one, you want to fix the car and you want to resell it and make yourself some serious coin, or B, you want to fix the car and keep it as your own personal daily driver. I myself have several old cars, as you probably know. That car there is a 1957. It's older than me. And look at the rot. Rot can be fixed. It's a time-consuming process, but this car was also a titleless car. That's why it's still sitting there. When the title comes, the buyers will come. Now, I would imagine each of you guys, since you're still watching this video, have a certain type of classic car you really like. I myself love old Cadillacs. I always have since I was a kid. My specialty is the 77 to 79 DeVille. I'm not bragging, but I can say honestly that I know everything about a 77 to 79 DeVille. If you own one of those cars and you have a particular problem, I can probably answer it or troubleshoot it for you. You can see there that aquamarine Cadillac there is a 1967/68 style. Not one of my favorite styles. As I said, I'm a 77 to 79 man, and I also like the 76 Eldorado triple white drop top bicentennial edition. That is my dream car. I've seen them on eBay for $25,000, $30,000. I'm not paying $25,000 for a 76 Eldorado. The white one there is a 1963 to 64 style. That is one of my least favorite Cadillac styles there is. The one to the right of it is a 68. Again, not one of my favorite styles, so I will not be buying that one either. But what I plan to do is I plan to take several cars and hopefully get them into running condition and do a step-by-step video on them for you, if that's the kind of thing you'd like to see. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it and showing you some behind-the-scenes junkyard work. If you have any questions, comment below. If you want to see more of these videos, let me know. I'll be glad to make them. As you can see, I got my work cut out for me in this hubcap pile. I have to go through thousands and thousands of hubcaps and separate them. Keep in mind, I'm Crazy New York Driver and you're not. Thanks for watching. I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I can. Just comment them below. Thanks for watching. Rock on, and don't worry, I'll be back on Friday with my normal eBay video. Again, I'm Crazy New York Driver. You're not. Go out there and make it a good day.